I probably said this once already, but nothing gives me more satisfaction than being way ahead of the curve, and I'll get to that in just 1 minute. But first of all, before I forget, because I am horrible at promoting my own stuff, I do want to make a quick mention of two very important things. Number one, I have completed another written book in my Giganotus Rex series. For those who don't know what Giganotus Rex is, it is a giant monster along the lines of Godzilla, but think a little more dinosaurish than Godzilla. And I have finished the fifth book, which is called The Return of Giganotus Rex. And I am really excited about that. I think that it's a great book, and the last book was kind of building up to this moment, and so I'm pretty excited about it. The second thing being that I have been turning the Giganotus Rex series into an audio version, and that is available. Well, there is a free book that is on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and most podcast platforms you can find, and that is The Wrath of Giganotus Rex. So check those out, The Wrath of Giganotus Rex. And then we have The Return of Giganotus Rex, which is a written book, which will one day get its audio version. And then on top of that, I just finished the audio for the second Giganotus Rex book, which is Giganotus Rex, The Battle of Midland. So very, very exciting time for me, at least, because I enjoy writing these books. And by the way, the audios will blow your mind. They are really, really good. They're a lot of fun. I think they'll be even encouraging to you. But now to what I was getting at, and what I take great pleasure in, being way, way, way ahead of the curve when it comes to matters as far as church, as far as politics. People think you're crazy, and then you are proven what? Correct. And I can live with that. You don't have to lavish me with too much praise. I'm a humble guy. So what we're talking about, by the way, I got my wife, Melissa. You probably heard her snicker in the background. My wife, Melissa, is with me here today for Redeemed for Jesus with Bill Sang. And my wife, Melissa, is along with me. And the thing in which I am correct, that I just absolutely love being correct on, is many years ago, before I had actually started working in a paid position at the church. By the way, I have to emphasize, and I feel like it's important for me to emphasize that, because I think a lot of people that we've worked with think that, oh, you just get a position at a church just by showing up. My goodness, I volunteer for a long time, and before I had a paid position at a church, I kind of envisioned what I wanted that to look like, and knew that odds are we were probably going to have to build it from the bottom up. And one of the things that I knew was going to be very important, and listen up, because now I got the data to prove it and I love it, is that I said the important thing to do is get young women going to your church. Because if you get young women at your church, you will get young men coming to your church. Because young men, good young men, want to meet good young women, and the place they're going to find good young women is at a good young church. So good young men, good young women, good young church. That's what you want. And by the way, if you get those two groups together, good young men, good young women, good young marriages, they have good young babies. So you preserve the church for many generations to come. And the data that I got this from, I was listening to Matt Walsh this morning. No, actually, no. Melissa, do you want to share the Gallup poll? Because I'm just kind of yammering on. Do you want to share the Gallup poll information? Because you actually mentioned the Gallup poll information, and then I heard Matt Walsh. I was like, boom, this seals the deal as far as what I'm talking about.
Well, the new Gallup poll shows that for men, about a little over 40% of young men ages 18 to 29 see religion as an important part of their life. And only 29% of women from age 18 to 29 see religion as an important part of their life. And that's down from like 50% of what it was in the year 2000.
And those statistics are very fascinating. And I've connected some points here. I think that I'm onto something, and I think Melissa thinks I'm onto something. I could guess you could say that Melissa's onto something as well, because we're kind of thinking the same thing here. I was listening to Matt Walsh, and he did an episode about dating apps of all things, and how dating apps are just bombing right now. But now, where is it that young men, and particularly they're failing guys, because women, that they have not been marketing dating apps to women, good women, properly. And because that all the good women have left, and the women who just want a fling, more or less, I'd put it PG, they just want a fling, are the ones that are remaining on these apps, leaving the young men who are decent guys that are looking for a soulmate being stuck with a bunch of women on these apps that just aren't serious about relationships. So men are abandoning these apps, and now where are they going to meet young ladies, particularly the Catholic Church? I was like, well, hold on a minute. So we just read a Gallup poll that said that all of a sudden guys are more serious about religion than girls. And by the way, we like to compartmentalize all these different things, like, oh, well, guys are more serious about religion, or, oh, guys just want to meet women. How about both? How about that these things are interrelated phenomenon? That these things are interrelated phenomenon. That guys that want to meet good girls are naturally more religious because you see purpose. You see, Melissa, you've probably heard of it, that we see it as we are looking for that one, and the one being the one that God has chosen for us to spend the rest of our life. You've heard about that before?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I think, and guys and women that believe in that, well, where are you going to go to find the one? Well, it's not going to be the bar. It's not going to be the racetrack. I don't know. It's not going to be somewhere where you're going to meet people that are a little bit sleazier, okay? You're going to go to somewhere where you meet people of character. And, of course, the church. They said the Catholic Church particularly, which I understand it, Catholic Church, big, traditional. So you don't have a lot of gimmicks going on there. And because that, the people that are going there are true believers, more or less. But a lot of our focus is actually going to be on the Catholic Church particular today. And an awful lot coming from the Pope lately that's been stirring things up, that's been irritating some very devout Catholics, actually. And I would say that this Pope probably isn't the worst Pope as far as these things, because Pope Francis, he was pretty progressive, let's face it. But Melissa, you want to share with us some of the people that are kind of, I don't know, warring with the Catholic Church as far as some of the things that the Pope stands for, or the reasons as to why?
Well, one of the people that I saw commented about the Pope, and in particular the Catholic Church, was Sean Hannity. He said that he grew up going to Catholic school, and he left the Catholic Church because of the corruption.
Yeah, and what I found fascinating is on that post, you also told me that the Hodge twins had commented on what Sean Hannity had said. What was it the Hodge twins had to say about Sean Hannity's remarks?
They said they go to Catholic Church for Jesus, not for, the Pope. I thought that was interesting.
I thought that was pretty interesting too, because Sean Hannity said that he was recognizing the corruption inside of the church, and so he decided to make an exit from it. The Hodge twins, on the other hand, it's fascinating to me because Sean Hannity always struck me as a very devout Catholic. The Hodge twins, I didn't really even know they were Catholic until they made this post, particularly because they're fairly lewd. I mean, don't get me wrong, I appreciate their conservative stances and stuff, but they're pretty lewd as far as their humor is concerned. And to find out that they're Catholic, I'm kind of shocked. But on the same token, what I guess I'm kind of noticing here is that Sean Hannity, this lifelong devout Catholic, was noticing that, wow, the Catholic Church is losing its way, and it's because it starts at the top. And Catholics out there, I'm not ripping Catholicism right now. What I'm saying is that, and many of you have recognized this, is that at the highest levels of leadership, you're kind of being betrayed as far as the traditional stances on things. And on top of that, the Pope has been becoming increasingly political. Now, I know that Pope has historically been a fairly political figure, but when I say getting political, not in a way that I would argue is in defending biblical stances. It's very one-sided defending progressive stances. I mean, basically, the only thing that I've really seen the Pope stand for consistently, both this one and Pope Francis before him, is their pro-life stance. And even then, this particular Pope, Pope Leo, his pro-life stance, it sounded an awful lot like a progressive who actually isn't pro-life, because he says something along the lines of, well, saying that we're pro-life and being, what was it, something like, and being against illegal immigration, is that really pro-life? And I would argue, well, yeah, that's pro-life, because pro-life has nothing to do with illegal immigration. Pro-life has to do with don't kill babies before they're born, or for that matter, don't kill babies, okay? Don't murder babies. They didn't do anything warranting they should be killed. The only thing that would warrant that is, of course, if somebody commits a capital crime. I don't know of any babies guilty of capital crimes. Are you familiar with any babies guilty? I don't know any babies guilty of capital crimes. And if there are, okay, well, maybe we need to run them through the judicial system first. But frankly, there's no reason to kill a baby, and the pro-life stance has nothing to do with illegal immigration. In fact, you can be pro-life and be for open borders. I don't like that prospect, but they're two separate issues altogether, and conflating the two is really kind of diminishing the credibility of the Pope on his pro-life stance, and I think that he really does need to be held accountable. Dr. George Fry, who is one of my professors in seminary, had this great quote. He had these laws. I don't know if he kept track of his own laws, but he called it Fry's Law. Then he attached a number to it. I don't know if he really has like actual numbered laws that he abides by, that he sees life through. But one of his Fry's laws was any organization, given the appropriate amount of time, will eventually accomplish the exact opposite of what it set out to do. And I thought that was actually a pretty good law, because we very much see that happening. And I think that we're starting to see that happen in the leadership of the Catholic Church ultimately. And so I don't know what the solution to that is, really. I think it's very difficult, because I saw a question leveled by somebody on Facebook that's been circulating that says that the Pope is awfully quick to condemn Trump or I don't know if it was Trump or if he said, but is awfully quick to condemn, I'll just use a word, Islamophobia inside of countries, but then is very slow, or doesn't say anything about Muslims killing Christians in other nations. That he's very quick to confront Trump on just about any issue that he disagrees with him on, but then these other countries where there's genocide going on against Christians, he's totally silent. And that is kind of alarming, that essentially the biggest figure in all of Christendom today is not speaking up for the Christians that do not have a voice when their friends, relatives, and just fellow believers are being slaughtered mercilessly. It's fascinating because Voddie Baucham got it right, which I was going to cite Voddie Baucham earlier with family-driven faith. But something that Voddie Baucham said in a sermon, and probably a number of sermons, probably a number of conferences, is that within evangelical Christianity, at least, and I would say that this transcends evangelical Christianity. It probably goes into progressive Christianity, Catholic Christianity, whatever Christianity you can find, that we are aware of the Ten Commandments. Voddie Baucham said that within modern Christianity, we have created an 11th commandment: thou shalt be nice. But the problem is with that, for one, it's not always good. I mean, Christians are supposed to be kind. That's supposed to be the fruit of the Holy Spirit. Kindness is one of the fruits. However, that sometimes we have to deal with things shrewdly too. But even so, we as Christians are still supposed to be kind, and we're supposed to be forgiving. However, there needs to be institutions in place that do divvy out justice, that do punish the wicked. And Romans 13 makes it very clear that is the place of government. That is the place of politics. And Donald Trump, as the president right now, that whenever he says, uh-oh, we have something wicked going on, we've got to fix this problem. Well, this problem is such a big mess, we might have to use a little bit of force. And all of a sudden, Christians throughout our country are saying, oh no, this scares me. This isn't what I voted for. And I'm thinking like, wait, did you vote for the end of corruption? Did you vote to close the borders and to remove illegal immigrants? Did you vote to get illegal drugs out of our country that's coming over from other countries? The list goes on. Did we not vote for these things? Did we not vote for a president? In 2016, one of the big sells on Donald Trump was he was going to put an end to the Iran nuclear deal. People that voted for Trump that are now balking at the reality that he did put that right now that are now balking at the reality that Donald Trump is taking action against Iran. Did you vote for Donald Trump back in 2016? One of the reasons being that he was going to put an end to the Iran nuclear deal. We knew the Iran nuclear deal that Obama had made was terrible and guaranteed that Iran was going to get a nuclear weapon. And we see a guy like Donald Trump who's stepping up to the plate and saying, no, I'm going to protect my people. No, I'm going to end corruption. No, we are not going to rig elections through illegal immigrants coming into the country and rigging the electoral map and so on. And so it's a very deep issue, by the way. We see him doing that and doing the necessary things to make sure that those things are put to an end. And then all of a sudden we say, oh no, he's not being very nice. And I'm thinking like, wait. Tell the bad guys to be nice first before we start judging the good guys for putting an end to their evilness. Last time we talked about the kings in the Bible like Josiah and Jehu, who took pretty drastic measures, tore down the high places in Israel. Odds are they probably put some false prophets to death as well. And people in our culture, if we saw that happening, we'd say, uh-oh, that's really mean. That's really harsh. I don't like what he's doing. God was pleased with it. But there's a character we've been talking about inside the Bible that we've been reading through, both that me, my wife, and kids have been reading through 2 Samuel. And there's this character who's just a shady character. He does some good sometimes, and he does some really wicked things also. His name is Joab. And Joab is the commander over David's army. King David, that is. But Joab has also been involved in a lot of, I don't know if conspiratorial is correct, but involved in a lot of cold-blooded murders that were for the sake of revenge. And at times, David didn't even know they were going on, but then he does catch wind of those things. And when his son Solomon takes power, he tells Solomon to kill Joab. And Solomon does. In fact, it's one of those scenes that I was kind of confused about for a while, because I remember that inside of the Old Testament, it also says that when somebody grabs onto the horns of the mercy seat, that you grant them mercy. You do not kill them. But then as I was reading through the law again, it said that if they are a murderer, you kill them on the spot, regardless of whether they're grabbing onto the horns of the mercy seat or not. And I thought that was very fascinating, because Joab meets his fate at the throne of mercy, grabbing onto the horns, begging for his life, and Solomon tells him to come down and get off of there and meet his fate, and he refuses to do it. So Solomon says, all right, kill him where he is. Might sound kind of harsh to us, but is murder kind of harsh? Murder's kind of harsh. And so for a murderer to meet his end in a cruel manner, we shouldn't be shedding many tears over that. The guy was wicked and he was deceptive. And it seems that we have a lot of sympathy for these people, even though we might be able to... Sorry, I have to bring this one up. Mike Tyson, for crying out loud. We made the guy into a victim when he fought against Jake Paul. Is that his name? Something Paul. Whichever Paul it was that he fought. I think it was Jake Paul. When he fought Jake Paul, that all of a sudden Jake Paul, this young guy fighting against this old man. He only fights against people that aren't good fighters. Or Mike Tyson was a good fighter, by the way. But Mike Tyson's way out of his prime. Why didn't you fight something in their prime? And yada, yada, yada. We made Mike Tyson into such a victim. Do you remember the things that Mike Tyson did in his prime? The dude was horrible. And I would argue, if you listen to him today, he's still a pretty wicked person. He's still a really bad person. But because something happened to him in the whole thing with Jake Paul that made him look like that he was dealt an unfair hand and stuff, we say, oh, Mike Tyson, we feel so bad. That Jake Paul, he's such a terrible person. What did Jake Paul ever do to anybody except for give them promotions that they made millions and millions of dollars off of? And by the way, I'm not promoting Jake Paul. I just think that it's funny that he turned into the bad guy, even though he gave this horrible, horrible person who hadn't fought in decades an opportunity to be back in the limelight. I mean, if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't even been in the limelight. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. We just have this tendency, we have to remember that, okay, even though that sometimes a punishment might seem like something that we wouldn't want to face, well, of course you won't want to face it. It's a punishment. But the punishment's only given out justly if they have crossed certain boundaries, if they've broken certain rules. There's a reason why there's a difference between a misdemeanor and a capital offense. A misdemeanor is like a whoopsie daisy. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what a misdemeanor is. I was speeding and I didn't realize it. But then you have capital crimes, which is like, that's not a whoopsie daisy. That's, I murdered a person in cold blood, or murdered multiple people in cold blood. It takes a lot of intent. And if you did something like that intentionally, well, death is kind of the warranted punishment for that because you took a person's life. There are some good things happening in our world today and even in our country. In fact, the National Museum of the Bible, is that what it's called, is hosting an event starting Sunday, the 19th of April. The National Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. is starting up a Bible reading event. And it's going to last for 7 straight days from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. People are going to be reading the Bible, and they are going to be reading all the way through the Bible in 7 days. That's a really cool thing.
And actually, you can watch it live on PureFlix. It is called Christians Engaged, and they have over 400 people reading the Bible. So it's amazing. I didn't know you could read the Bible in 7 days straight. And I think they're helping for the 250th anniversary of our country to help remind people that this country was founded on the doctrines in the Bible, and to help people know what we as a country stand for.
And also the National Day of Prayer is coming up too. So this is coming up right on the heels of the National Day of Prayer. So that's pretty exciting. And I think it's really cool they're deciding to do this, which, by the way, Candace Cameron, that she is the sister of Kirk Cameron. I think they're doing some great things for the country. They're doing great things for the church. And so this is a fantastic event that PureFlix is going to be ultimately hosting on their channel. So check it out if you can. Again, that's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And it will be starting the 19th, lasting for 7 days. And they're going through the entire Bible. That is a fantastic thing. And I think that's a nice little note to wrap up on right there. So I am here with my wife, Melissa, saying that you got to hear from and share some very good information with us. I'm glad she was able to keep us on track with the topics and everything, and also to share some vital information. But we'd also like to thank you for joining us for today's Redeemed for Jesus with Bill Sang podcast. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, share a comment below. Let us know what your thoughts are as far as the state of the Catholic Church right now. Tell us if you're a young guy or young lady, if you go to church to meet people. You don't have to do that, but that'd be kind of funny if you did. So we know some singles, though, so we could hook you up if you need it. So if you're looking for a good guy or a good girl, we could probably find somebody for you in that regard. Man, I'm selling that way too hard. Maybe we need to start our own dating app, Melissa. Do you think that'd be good? I think we need to start our own dating app. But make sure to leave a comment below. We appreciate you listening to today's episode. But remember that one day, every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father, and all of creation will be redeemed for Jesus. Thank you for joining us.
The life, the way. Hallelujah. The life, the way. Hallelujah. We worship your name, Alpha and Omega, forever the same.